Welcome to Manna at the Tap, a podcast of Tapestry Ministries. Each episode reflects on a daily Bible reading from the Revised Common Lectionary. I'm Gloria, a fellow traveler on a spiritual journey with the Tapestry community, and we call the daily Bible reading our spiritual manna. This daily manna nourishes our souls and fosters spiritual growth as we share insights and interpretations that enrich our lives. The lectionary reading for Thursday, February the 27th, 2025, is from the Old Testament book of Deuteronomy. This book focuses on remembering what was previously shared with the community of wilderness dwellers. It recounts the relationship between God and his people as they left Egypt, the land of enslavement, embarking on a journey towards a new home that God had promised to their ancestors many years earlier. Today's reading is Deuteronomy chapter 9, verses 1 to 5. It's quite brief, but it conveys an important message about remembering. Let me provide some context. Moses is the leader of this community of wilderness dwellers. Now 120 years old, his death is imminent. He has guided this community for the past 40 years since God sent him to deliver them from a life of slavery in Egypt. He sent 12 community leaders to survey the new homeland when they first gathered in the wilderness. After 40 days, they returned, and 10 leaders voted against the community's decision to fight for the homeland. They had forgotten. They didn't remember what God had done in freeing them from Egypt. Instead, they became fearful and fixated on the walled cities and the towering people they encountered while they were surveying the land. This caused the community to spend the next 38 years as wilderness dwellers, living between Egypt and the new homeland that God had promised their ancestors centuries earlier. Moses now reminds the wilderness dwellers that their parents and grandparents stood at this very spot 38 years ago when they listened to the 10 community leaders who voted against proceeding. Their parents and grandparents never left the wilderness and are all buried there. In verse 1 of the readings from Deuteronomy chapter 9, Moses urges the community to heed God's call. It was time for the community to leave the wilderness, cross the Jordan River, and settle in the new homeland. The homeland remained controlled by the nations more powerful than the wilderness dwellers. The cities were vast and encircled by walls reaching the sky, and the inhabitants were tall and strong. God reminded them that their parents and grandparents had shared stories about the giants who lived there, emphasizing that no one could stand against the giants. But now, the wilderness dwellers are encouraged to discover who the Lord is for themselves, rather than relying on what their parents and grandparents told them. The task ahead was beyond their abilities, but the Lord promised he would be front and center as they moved into their homeland. They would encounter the same opponents as their parents and grandparents, but were assured victory if they listened to, followed, and obeyed the Lord. This promise, though, came with caution. The wilderness dwellers would be able to defeat the nations, some of which were considered invincible, and the walls surrounding the cities would crumble. Still, the wilderness dwellers were not to claim the credit for themselves. They were not to get a big head and believe this all happened because they deserved it. The Lord reminded them that all the praise belonged to Him because He kept His promise that He made to their ancestors to give their descendants a homeland. This story invites us to remember to thank God for even the breath we breathe. It's His gift to you every day that you are alive. If you enjoy my storytelling, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.